Delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Knight.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I've been here for 10 years now. This is my first point of personal privilege. I guess until today I didn't have anything important to say. Mr. Speaker, it's an honor and a privilege to serve the citizens of Virginia, and the great body has been here since 1619, almost 400 years. We do very important work that affects the lives of all Virginians. We need not lose our focus on what is important and why we're here, such as some of the proud moments we've had this year when we welcome back our colleague and friend Terry Austin for successfully battling cancer, and when Lee Ware was congratulated for having his 10th grandchild, and when Todd Gilbert, the gentle giant, was turned into a proud papa, beaming with his son in his arms. You see, today we have an anniversary, but not a good one. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm 63 years old. When I was in high school, the Vietnam War was raging. It was in our homes every night, on our TVs. It was a horrible and gruesome war, like all are, but this one was front and center in our homes. I knew that with things tight at home, I wouldn't be able to go to college. I thought to go on to continue to work on Mr. Brown's farm, only now full-time as opposed to weekends and summers. But with the war, I was wondering, would I be drafted? It was getting very personal for me. The war ended before I graduated, but he still had the draft. The draft board pulled your birthday, then your random select number. I was number 44. I was good as gone had not the war stopped. I didn't know how my life would have turned out had I gone to Vietnam and not to work on the farm. I might not be here. Didn't work out so well for a good friend of mine. He was a few years older than me. He was a normal guy with ambitions. He got married, had an apartment, had a good job. Life was good. Then his life got turned upside down. He was drafted into the Army. He went to basic training and hoped and prayed he wouldn't be shipped to war. But he was. Vietnam. With the unbearable heat, the jungle, the mud, and the leeches, the ever-constant leeches gnawing on your body. For weeks and weeks, all he saw was death and destruction. Every day was the same, even Christmas Day, when 5 of his friends got blown up. All he could do was cry, say, "Why me, Lord?" All he wanted was to be home with his wife and be normal again. He didn't want to be here, but his country said they needed him in this ill-conceived war. One day he was helicoptered into the jungle, running down a trail, and 2 of his soldiers were killed by a booby trap. Then he walked into an ambush, fierce fighting, and another man was killed. Then another man as they crawled into the jungle. His body was used for cover while he continued to fire his gun, clip after clip of ammo. He tried to run for cover, but was shot in his left side, just under the heart. He was knocked off of his feet. Bleeding, he got up stumbling. Another bullet tore through his left forearm. He fell to the ground, unable to move. Finally, he was able to crawl to safety. Then a fellow soldier loaded him on a medevac helicopter. When he finally arrived at the field hospital, he was in bad shape. Medication helped dull the pain. The soldiers in this field hospital were in bad shape also. 70% of them did never come home. He stayed 16 weeks in the Philippines hospital, 12 weeks in the hospital in Hawaii, malaria, 107-degree fever, numerous surgeries, malaria again, 6 weeks of quarantine. A blood clot passed through his heart. Finally, after all the time in horrible conditions of war, he was going home to his wife. Never wanting to go to war, he was returning to the States. Ohio was his first stop before he was able to go home. After all he'd been through, he was being carried on a stretcher from the plane when he heard loud screams. Protesters. After all he'd been through, he was being cursed and called all kinds of names. After being awarded the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and fighting in a war he didn't want to go to. Today he has a good life. He's a father, a grandfather, husband. He's a former mayor. Now he's a delegate in the General Assembly of Virginia. You see, the gentleman from Poquoson, Gordon Helsel, has been through a lot. Let's tell him we appreciate him and give him the welcome he didn't get when he got terribly wounded in the jungles 50 years ago today, February 27th, 1968.
Gordon, that was such a well-deserved tribute. We think so much of you, your service, everything you've been through. What a blessing you are.